Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Shan Stratton Live. I'm Shan Stratton, and I'm the owner of Core Health Products, an enzyme-based nutrition company based right here out of Arizona where I reside, and I've had the great fortune of working in this industry for almost 25 years now. And during this period of time, I've been so fortunate and so honored and blessed to have had the opportunity and to continue to work with professional athletic organizations and professional athletes, collegiate athletes, all the way down to those little weekend warriors. It's been an honor of mine, but I've had the opportunity of learning some very important things. One of the most important things is that even though I've had that opportunity of working with elite bodies, the bodies still function the same in every individual, male, female, young, old, doesn't matter. And so what I share with you tonight, please make sure that you understand, I'm not talking from an athletic perspective, I'm talking from a human perspective. Each and everything that I share with you tonight can and should be applied to you, your family, your friends, your relatives, your clients, your customers, anybody and everybody you know, because it's a very important topic. And it's something that I feel needs to be addressed. In fact, the medical community is even starting to recognize systemic inflammation as something that is truly threatening life as we know it. Now, when we talk about inflammation, and that's what we're going to focus on here tonight, is there are actually two different types of inflammation. There is an acute inflammation and there is an ugly inflammation. Not really. There's an acute and then there's a systemic inflammation. Now, acute inflammation talks about any type of inflammation that happens instantly or is a short period of time, such as twisting an ankle or having an injury, spraining something else, or breaking a bone, if you get scratched or cut. Okay, inflammatory responses take place, and that's really important. Okay. We want those those inflammatory triggers to take place in those scenarios. But systemic inflammation is something completely different. Systemic inflammation means that it is something that is affecting the entire system or the entire body. When we look at systemic inflammation, and folks, please understand right from the get-go, that the medical community is starting to say that 7 of the top 10 most threatening diseases in America today has a close relation to a systemic inflammatory response. So let's take a look at that. When you actually define systemic inflammation, it is a chronic systemic inflammation. It is the result of, and I stopped right there because there's the key word. Chronic or systemic inflammation is the result of something else. Systemic inflammation in and of itself is not a disease, but yet it is the result of triggering or releasing of pro-inflammatory stuff. Now, it's actually cytokines, but I know that that's a word that I don't want to get too deep with, and most people aren't going to understand it, so we're saying inflammatory stuff and activation of the immune system. So if you look at that phrase right there, chronic systemic inflammation is the result of something else happening, which is the triggering or releasing of pro-inflammatory stuff and the activation of the immune system. When you look at it from that perspective, we see that the immune system, if the immune system kicks into place every time something is triggered to create inflammation, then we also have to assume that immune system and inflammatory responses have a very close relationship. A chronic systemic or autoimmune disease affects a number of organs and tissues or may affect the entire body as a system. That's why it's referred to as systemic inflammation. Now, I'm here to share with you that studies are showing over and over and over again from both the medical community as well as the natural community. The tie is that our immune system is triggered to produce and to go into a response with inflammation. And it's a vicious cycle because inflammation is caused by other things that we see going on in the body, which happens to be tied to the immune system as well. Let's look at some of those diseases that are referred to and tied to not only autoimmune, because all of these things that I list right here are almost always just compartmentalized into, oh, that's an autoimmune disease. But guess what? Every one of these diseases that are listed as autoimmune also have chronic inflammation, systemic inflammation. Here's a whole other list. When we're talking about things like diabetes, yes, it is an autoimmune, but there is inflammatory triggers that are skyrocketed when we see diabetics. Colitis, ulcerative colitis, celiac disease, that's another one. We're seeing more and more and more of celiac disease, also termed or tied to gluten intolerances. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But the premise is when gluten is consumed, the body sees it as a foreign debris, something that can't be utilized, a toxin, if you will, and it triggers an inflammatory response. That inflammatory response activates the immune system. So it's this vicious cycle that continues to go over and over and over. We're going to talk about how these are addressed. Chronic fatigue, another one that has almost every single time correlation with systemic inflammation and autoimmune. Crohn's, leaky gut syndrome, MS, multiple sclerosis, irritable bowel syndrome, okay, the Crohn's disease, the ulcerative colitis, and things like that. Rheumatoid arthritis. That is another quasi-autoimmune disease. Lupus, Graves' disease, high blood pressure, and obesity. Folks, do you realize we're one of the only countries in the entire world that doesn't recognize obesity as an autoimmune inflammatory challenge? I'm telling you that in every case of obesity, there are spikes in those triggers that cause inflammation and triggers the body to produce, secrete, activate, whatever you want to call it, certain immune cells, T cells and B cells. Those cells are triggered to be produced whenever these types of scenarios occur. So there is absolutely great reason for us to address and look at what is causing inflammation, because inflammation is creating this autoimmune, this ongoing production of our immune responses. They go hand in hand. When we address one and or the other will also be addressed. Folks, I'm telling you, we have had great results. I'm not here to say we've cured anything. And when I say we, I'm talking about our industry. We're not curing things. We're simply looking at the causes of certain results, of certain actions, of certain triggers. And interestingly and ironically, almost every single autoimmune and systemic inflammatory disease originates in the gut. I want to repeat that. Almost every single autoimmune and systemic inflammatory trigger originates in our gut. So gut health, folks, is absolutely mandatory. When we talk about our immune system, especially when we're talking about advanced immune such as autoimmunity, we have to look at the gut first, because that's where so much of it originates. So let's take a look at, many of you have heard so many of my series that I talk about gut health, and we focus on probiotics and prebiotics and digestive enzymes and balancing that pH with good alkalizing water we're going to talk here about in just a minute. Those are things that we have to address first and foremost. So let's address that. How do we address autoimmune diseases, which also tied to correlation with, whatever you want to call it, systemic inflammation? How do we address them? First and foremost, now some people would say diet. You got to address diet first and foremost. Up until maybe a few years back, I might have agreed with you. But now, it's not diet. The first thing that must be addressed is we have to fix our gut health, our microbiota. Okay, the microbiota is actually a new term that the medical community is using when they refer to as gut flora. So when you hear gut flora, probiotics, prebiotics, or microbiota, you know that we're talking about those living, active organisms that live within our gut. And I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about that in a minute. Massive antioxidants each and every day. That's number 2. Even more so and before diet. We've got to make sure that we're getting good antioxidants in our body each and every day. We're going to talk about that. We must fix our diet, without doubt. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then finally, exercise. Believe it or not, exercise plays a vital role in anti-inflammation and assisting or supporting the negating or neutralizing or reducing that need or those triggers of autoimmune diseases. So let's start with the details of how do we fix our gut. Gut health is solely dependent upon the presence and the health and the ability to proliferate or grow of our pro and prebiotics. Now, if you can think for just a minute, the entire GI tract, from ears, nose, throat, drain in all the way down through the colon, there is a tube, and on the inside of this tube, there is a protective coating, a mucosal lining, that is made up primarily of probiotics, living bacteria, living, thriving organisms. Now, often when you hear of bacteria, you think of bad stuff, okay? Bacteria is almost always has a correlation to bad stuff. There is bad bacteria, sure enough, but there is also good bacteria. And folks, those good bacteria, the lining of that tube, ears, nose, throat, all the way down through the colon, that inside protective coating, that lining of probiotics, its primary responsibility is to kill, combat, fight, whatever you want to call it, the bad bacteria that gets past our barriers. So whether it's in the ears, nose, or throat, as we ingest or bring into our body any type of bacteria, the good bacteria must be strong enough to beat the bad bacteria. Think about it. What happens if a bad bacteria gets in our ear canal and begins to grow? We have ear infection. What if bad bacteria gets in the sinuses, beats the good bacteria, begins to grow? Sinus infection. What happens if bad bacteria gets in the throat, beats the good bacteria, begins to grow? Sore throat. And the first thing that we do in Western medicine is run to the doctor. The doctor gives us an antibiotic, because anti means against, biotic means life. And so the antibiotic's responsibility is to go in and kill off that bacteria. Well, here's the bad part that's not being taught as often as it should. Antibiotics against life comes in, and sure enough, it might kill that bad bacteria. But folks, it cannot decipher between bad bacteria that's causing an issue and the good bacteria known as the for bacteria life. Probiotics are living organisms that primary responsibility is to kill that bad stuff. And as you know, we are having more and more and more bad bacteria in our air. The pollution is getting worse. The bacteria on things that we're eating, worse and worse and worse. We're seeing more bacterial infections and things like that than ever before. So our probiotics must be present. Now I'm going to show you how that ties directly into our immune system, and more importantly into anti-inflammatory, reduces those triggers that cause inflammation. Okay? Second thing is enzymes. Enzymes are mandatory as anti-inflammatories. Enzymes break foods down into a form that the body can recognize. When those forms of food, even if it's a healthy food, it could be a good, pure, organic form of meat. And if it's not digested and broken completely down, then the body sees that as a foreign debris. And that foreign debris triggers, remember that trigger, it triggers the body to secrete what is needed as an immune factor. So it triggers the immune system. And with that triggering of the immune system, if that goes on and on and on, that triggers inflammation. So as you can see, the result of indigestion is often inflammation. Systemic inflammation begins in the gut, and the gut is responsible for digestion. Digestion must have the presence of enzymes. Talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Balance the body's pH, okay? Balance the body's pH. There are several ways to do that, but the most effective, most efficient, and most simple way of balancing the body's pH is to change that largest component of the body, which is water. Now, if any of you have ever seen my Kangen Water demonstrations, you know, and if you haven't, tune in again next Tuesday night. We'll be doing a live Kangen Water demonstration, or go onto my website, shanstrattonlive.com. You can look at it there. But we do a full demonstration, and we show people how almost every single form of bottled water, tap water, reverse osmosis water, filtered water, doesn't matter, is acidic. And those acidic liquids cause an imbalance of the body's pH. And guess what happens to be extremely pH sensitive? Probiotics and prebiotics. So if our if our pH, if our acid alkaline balance gets out of balance, then it affects and in many cases kills or damages many of our probiotics, which in turn would reduce the immune system and cause a spike in the triggering of inflammation. Balancing the pH is a key part of anti-inflammation. Now let me make a couple of other quick statements before we go on to number 2 here. Just yesterday, or a few days ago I guess, the FDA had a ruling come down that they are now mandated to update their warning on all non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Before it used to say that it may cause damage. Okay, and we're just going to leave it at that. It may cause. Now, documentation, research is showing that anti-inflammatory drugs, whether it be ibuprofen, whether it be naproxen, whatever it is, over the counter or prescription, is in fact causing lowered immune system, increased inflammatory triggering, reduction of things like probiotics, reduction of activity levels of enzymes. Those are the types of things that we are now starting to see in the medical community, in even the drug community. Folks, I can't stress enough how anti-inflammation starts in the gut. And when I say gut, I'm not just saying here. The gut starts ears, nose, throat, all the way down through the body. When I say gut, I'm talking about that entire tube. Probiotics are the defining factor of our gut, which is the defining factor of our immune responses, which ultimately is the defining factor of systemic inflammation. If you could relate to any of those things I talked about before, from celiac to Crohn's to leaky gut to lupus to MS to diabetes to obesity to high blood pressure, I can tell you the first thing you need to do is address your probiotic count. Now let me show you. Digestive health, it's our number one selling product. Digestive health is vital and key, and I believe every single person that lives in this world, at least in America, should be consuming a good broad blend set of digestive enzymes and probiotics. The digestive health addresses all probiotics, prebiotics, and digestive enzymes. There are 13 separate strains. Folks, most companies might have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 of the most well-known probiotics. Acidophilus and Reuteri and Bifidum. Okay, those are great probiotics. However, we know that that tube is made up of multiple different probiotics, living bacteria. Folks, there is not another company in the world that has more stabilized strains of probiotics than the digestive health. I'm going to repeat that. There is not another company in the world that has more strains of stabilized probiotics than our digestive health. Why? How can I say that? Because, folks, there are only 13 stabilized forms of probiotics known in the world. We use all 13 strains. All 13 stabilized right here in the digestive health. Now, what does stabilized mean? If any of you have taken probiotics in the past, you know that most of the time, up until about 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, those probiotics had to be refrigerated. Why? Because probiotics are extremely heat sensitive, okay? And if they're heat sensitive, then that means that if you even leave them out at room temperature, many of those living bacteria die. Well, my question is, if it can't live at room temperature, how in the world is it going to live through the heat and the acidity of the body to actually cultivate, grow, proliferate, whatever you want to call it, thrive? Stabilized probiotics are mandatory. Guys, don't allow yourself to be tricked into someone saying, oh, these are better because we got to keep them cold and you got to keep them in the refrigerator. Those are unstable. They might be great probiotics, but they're unstable, meaning that you have to have massively high quantities for small amounts to make it down through the GI. There are 13 stabilized strains. We, again, use all 13. Then in addition to that, and actually one other thing on that, our probiotics are pH specific, meaning that at certain pH ranges throughout the body, they are more active, okay, have a higher ability to proliferate, okay? Then we included the digestive enzymes to increase the digestion of our food. As we increase digestion, study after study shows increased digestion reduces inflammation, or at least those triggers that cause inflammation. See, we want to fix the problem, not the symptom, not the result. Chronic inflammation is the result of. Remember that? Second slide. Chronic inflammation is the result of. Let's fix the of. The of begins in the gut. Probiotics, I cannot stress it enough, guys. That is, in my opinion, and I think evidence to back it up in both the medical and natural industry, the most effective immune support there is to man is, in fact, probiotics accompanied with prebiotics. I'm not going to get into details, but the prebiotics are literally the food that allow the probiotics to continue to grow and to get stronger and proliferate, get deep-rooted, really do their job in there. Okay? So, the balance of the body's pH, Kangen water, I'm going to show you a little bit here in just a minute. Okay, the next thing is massive antioxidants. We've got to incorporate antioxidants into our body every single day, because think about it. Oxidation occurs anytime we are faced with pollution, pesticides, electromagnetic fields, cell phones, microwaves, TVs, any type of physical stress, emotional stress, any type of reaction that goes on within the body creates free radicals in most cases. Free radicals are oxidative. So we have to, today more than ever before, flood our body with massive amounts of antioxidants. I believe the most effective way to do that is provide the greatest potential to reduce oxidation, which is in a technology that we call Kangen Water. Now, I'm actually going to show you real quickly right here. I'm going to take some of our most common drinks, okay, and I'm going to show you just real quickly how oxidative or anti-oxidizing some of these drinks are. Okay, let's take some common Voss. It's one of our more common high-end waters. It is a Norwegian water. We've got our common Dasani, Coca-Cola product. Smart water. Yeah, we're going to use some smart water here because so many people, folks, I work with professional athletes. We've got an NFL camp going on right here in Arizona right now. We've got over 30 NFL players in here. And when I went and spoke to them on Tuesday of this week, one of the first things that came up is, well, we drink smart water. boy, was I able to show them, just like I'll show you, that is not what we want to be consuming, and I'll show you why. Okay? And let's take a little bit of our Kangen water, which again is the water that I'm talking about, and we'll talk a little bit more about. I do demonstrations on it every Tuesday night, so you'll get to see that. But what I want to do is I'm going to take a little instrument here. This is called an ORP meter. ORP stands for oxidation reduction potential, or the potential to reduce that oxidative process. Oxidation occurs when there are free radicals. We have to neutralize free radicals, and we do that with antioxidants. Now, this meter will actually show us, and I'm going to get it up here so we can get a good view on it. Okay, this meter will show us whether these are oxidizing or anti-oxidizing. So as you pick out which one of these drinks you consume the most, let's take a look and see whether they're oxidizing or anti-oxidizing. Okay, the Norwegian spring water. That is a number at 360. That's on the positive side. Positive 360 means that it is oxidizing. The higher the number, the more oxidizing it is. Let's come over here to Dasani, 360 and climbing. Let's take Smart Water. Now, Smart Water isn't quite as oxidizing. It's down there in the low 300s, but it is still very oxidizing. Okay? And you're going to see when I come down here. In fact, let's just come all the way down here right now. Watch the meter and see if we go to a negative. It'll start coming down here. And give it just a second. And you can see it's counting down. Can you see it okay? It's probably in the negative side now and still climbing. It's going to get up there to a negative. We're at negative 260 right now. Folks, that means it is extremely high and rich in antioxidants. We went from a positive 300 all the way down to a negative or antioxidizing 267. Come back up here. Let's go to our who drinks Aquafina? Whose poison of choice is Aquafina? Not poison of choice, I mean whose water of choice? And you can see it's going to start going right back up there. We're going to get that back up there to the 300s. Doesn't matter which one of these we put it in. We're going to get all the way back up there and it's climbing back up. Or we come back down here to our negative or highly antioxidizing liquid. Negative 264. Anything on the positive side, guys, is causing the body inflammation because antioxidants are anti-inflammatory. Okay, so the best way to provide the most antioxidants is change that largest component of your body, which is water, and change that water from Dasani, or from Smart Water, or from Aquafina, or from filtered water, or from spring water, or from carbonated drinks, or from anything else. Change it to an extreme, but more importantly, or as importantly, antioxidant-rich form of water. Your body is made up 70% water. If your body is 70% antioxidant-rich, I promise you, you have a better chance of neutralizing those inflammatory triggers. Antioxidants are inflammatory. Of course, you get them from the Kangen water, but we also have all the antioxidants in a nutritional form in the Core Health Pack. The Core Health Pack was created and formulated so that there are 3 capsules in each packet. You can see on the top there are capsule 1, capsule 2, capsule 3. Each one of those capsules have enzymes, probiotics, and antioxidants. We provide grapeseed extract. We provide the SOD. We provide grapeseed and pine bark and proanthocyanidins and vitamin C and all those antioxidizing nutrients are in the Core Health Pack. This was created to provide you, the consumer, with everything you need on a daily basis, from vitamins, antioxidizing minerals, probiotics, prebiotics to help with the gut, and all of your antioxidants in the form of various different nutrients. We also have core greens. The core greens, we actually formulated this product based upon the alkalizing properties and antioxidizing properties of the ingredients. We have included in here 14 of the most alkalizing green ingredients from wheatgrass and barley grass and oatgrass and spirulina and spinach and broccoli and sea kelp and dulcet powder and all of those alkalizing. 1 serving per day in your alkalizing, high antioxidant water is in fact going to provide you many of the things that we're talking about right here. And then thirdly, and certainly not least importantly, the core EFAs. We're seeing more and more and more research, all kinds of articles and data supporting omega-3 fatty acids are the primary anti-inflammatory in that fatty acid group. In fact, most of the omega-6s, almost all of the omega-6s are inflammatory, pro-inflammatory. Okay, your trans fats are pro-inflammatory. Those things cause inflammation of the body. It causes the body to be more and more inflamed. So Core EFA was created as a base of krill oil. Krill has the highest quantity of pharmaceutical grade omega-3 fatty acids. Folks, it wasn't that long ago that our omega-3 and omega-6 ratio was about 1-to-1. That's what it's supposed to be. When that ratio gets out of whack, when the omega-6s are higher than the omega-3s, it increases cholesterol, triglycerides, obesity, weight gain, hormonal imbalances, reproductive challenges. So omega-3s, I cannot stress enough how important those omega-3 fatty acids are to your everyday consumption to help reduce those triggers of inflammation. Okay, let's move on. Fixing our diet. Very important factor here. When we talk about fixing our diet, folks, let's not just focus on consumption. You know that my company, Core Health Products, our tagline is nutrient utilization is more important than just nutrient consumption. Just because you consume healthy foods does not mean you are going to be healthy. Think about it. I'll bet you know somebody that consumes healthy food, but yet they're always sick. Consumes healthy food, but they're overweight. Consumes healthy food, but they have systemic inflammation or maybe autoimmune diseases or whatever the case might be. Consumption of healthy nutrients does not always equal health. We have to utilize those nutrients being consumed. That's where enzymes and probiotics come in. That's where balancing the gut health comes in. And then that's when we then provide the right nutrients. Now, some people may be saying, well, why would you talk about diet after all of this? The reality is, guys, even if you eat a healthy diet, if your gut cannot break those nutrients down, you cannot utilize those nutrients. The nutritional value of a food is dependent upon you and your gut. So often we say, oh, such and such food has a nutritional value of X. Folks, that nutritional value is different for you, which is different for someone else, because the value of it is only as good as the nutrients you're able to utilize from that food. Okay, so first thing I want you to look at, and we'll have another episode specifically on low or high glycemic foods. I would suggest, if you don't know much about them, Google low glycemic or high glycemic foods. You want to make sure that you are eating foods that are lower glycemic. And in general, what that means is you're eating foods that does not cause the body to secrete glucose, okay? That doesn't cause your glucose levels to rise very quickly. High glycemic foods are a very prime inflammation trigger. Things like sugars, white flours, gluten in some cases. Okay, there are many things that are high glycemic that cause the body to trigger those immune factors or those inflammatory factors. We've got to cut out our bad fats. We've got to get away from all of those trans fats and saturated fats. Folks, make a conscious effort to at least start cutting back on them. Make a conscious effort to look and learn what low glycemic foods consist of and how that's going to help you. And then we always teach increase your intake of raw food, fruits and vegetables and raw grains, raw sweet potatoes, okay? Now, you may be saying, raw sweet potato, we don't eat them raw. Only because you were taught to cook them. Next time you go to the store, get a sweet potato. Go home, peel it. Cut it up into chunks. It tastes much like a carrot, even sweeter. Raw sweet potatoes are one of the world's most enzyme-rich, nutrient-rich foods on the face of the earth. Raw oats. Get some steel-cut oats. Don't cook them. Put them in a bowl. Add a little bit of whatever it is that you want to use, whether it be almond milk, whether it be soy milk, whether it be 2% milk, whether it be water. I don't care. That's for you to choose. I would say stay away from dairy products because they trigger inflammation, okay? But raw oats with whatever you want to use it, like cold cereal. Add a little bit of sweetener, whether that be agave, whether that be honey, or eat them raw. It is a raw source of enzyme-rich foods. So folks, there are many ways to get raw foods into our diet each and every day. Finally, exercise. Now, I'm not going to go into much detail here. I'm just going to suggest that at least 3 times per week, you are doing some sort of activity. Doesn't mean you have to join a gym. It means that at least 3 times per week, you go for a walk. Maybe you chop some wood. Maybe you lift laundry up and down, whatever it is that you want to do, okay? Get that heart rate up there at least a little bit for at least 30 minutes, 3 times per week, okay? So, in review, we've got to fix our gut. Guys, if you can relate to or know anybody that has any type of systemic inflammation and or autoimmune challenges, it must start with increasing those probiotics into our body and prebiotics and enzymes every single day. The digestive health is absolutely the best in the marketplace. Now, I promise you, in my opinion, now it's going to sound like a sales pitch, there isn't going to be anything any better. There are other good products. But we have specifically formulated the digestive health to address probiotics, prebiotics, digestive enzymes, and helping balance that GI tract by increasing the digestion of our foods, reducing that acid production. Digestive health is, in my opinion, and I think ample data and research to back it up, has the ingredients to heal, improve, proliferate, whatever you want to call it, a healthier gut. And that's where it starts. Folks, again, there's research after research that shows if we will support probiotic growth, increase gut health, inflammatory triggers are reduced. So you must address the gut first and foremost. Increase the antioxidants from antioxidant-rich Kangen water and from core EFAs. This should be consumed every single day, guys. Good omega-3 fatty acids. Coconut oil, great form of omega-3 fatty acids. Easy source right here. Fix our diet. We're going to have a whole nother section on diet specifically, how to lose weight, how to gain weight, how to, whatever it is that those goals might be. So, and then of course exercise. In closing, Core Health Pack every day. 1 packet in the morning, 1 packet in the afternoon. So with breakfast and lunch or dinner, that covers all of your needed vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, probiotics, prebiotics, all of your digestive enzymes, all in 1 simple packet. It's your easy 1 a day, take it and go. Or I'm sorry, 2 a day, take it and go. Then you've got to incorporate into your diet digestive health and the core EFAs. These 2 are as anti-inflammatory as you can get. The joint health is another one that you would add in. These are more acute inflammatory triggers. These are more of your systemic inflammation because these address gut health. Core EFAs, digestive health. That right there, and we've got some great specials going on right now too. Go to corehealthproducts.com, and we actually have a special with the digestive health where you're going to get 4 of them and an instructional educational DVD for under $100. Okay, so go to corehealthproducts.com, get them. It's you're not going to get a better special than that. Okay, I can tell you that right now. So take advantage of it. It's only through the month of July. Corehealthproducts.com. One last thing I will say is treat yourself, guys, at least twice a year. Every 6 months, spend $30 on your gut. And what I mean by that, in addition to your daily, taking it every day as a maintenance, every 6 months, buy 1 bottle, go through the entire bottle in 6 days. Excuse me, in 6 days. That means you're going to take 10 capsules every single day for 6 days. You cannot overlook the value that that is going to provide to the growth and proliferation of those probiotics, those good, healthy, living bacteria that control those inflammatory triggers and those autoimmune triggers. Treat yourself every 6 months. I do it probably about every 3 months. I'll go through an entire bottle in 5 or 6 days, and I can tell you we do not get sick in my family. My wife, myself, my 3 kids, we simply do not get sick. And I know that it's because we have boosted our natural, first, strongest immune system. So guys, in closing, our goal here at Core Health Products is to enhance and enrich that quality of life for millions of people worldwide by providing the products, the services, and the education. That is a very important part, and that's why we do these every Tuesday night, is to provide that education that is needed to allow people an alkaline lifestyle. And when we do that, I know that we'll continue to be blessed. We'll continue to see changing in the landscape of healthcare. Folks, we are making a change. We're not curing disease. We're providing the body with what it needs from good antioxidant rich, good alkalizing, electrolyzed Kangen water, good probiotics and prebiotics, all 13 stabilized strains in the entire world. All of the enzymes that are needed to reduce acid buildup and to increase breakdown of the nutrients that we are consuming. We are providing these products and the education. We're doing all of that the very best that we can, and we are making a change in the world today. Folks, I'm absolutely honored to do these live webinars every single Tuesday night, whether you're watching it from ShanStrattonLive.com or whether you're watching it live on your EWS account. If you're a member of EWS, they stream it live. I'm so fortunate and thankful for Eric Prusak and his great team at EWS as we team together to make sure that we are providing you, bringing you all the information that you need to live a more alkalizing lifestyle. I thank you so much, and on behalf of my entire family and all of my staff, we thank you for inviting us into your home tonight, and we wish you a very happy and healthy future. God bless and good night.